All right, so this next one is a little bit of an audible. Lisa Hansen was scheduled to give the presentation, but due to medical illness in her family, she wasn't able to attend. So we have a tag team approach that's going to do this in 20 minutes. We'll see. So I'll let Kirsten start for Lisa Hansen. Oh, let me do the full view here. Wait, view. Full screen. There we go.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, John Paul. I spoke to Lisa last night, and although there was a family emergency, everybody's okay. I'm going to do my best to follow her presentation, but come join me. We'll read it along together. Usual disclaimer. Oh, and can you keep me at 10 minutes?
10.
Dr. Srihari will be co-presenting after me on this. Thank you. All right. According to Dr. Caligari, there are 3 regions, at least, that play roles in handwriting. Primary motor area, which controls fine movement. Premotor area controls visual guidance. And then the supplementary area that regulates muscle firing and the sequences of the firing. There are several stages involved with writing development. There's the pre-conventional, where usually the children who are learning to write pretend that they're writing, and they draw pictures and unusual images, unusual formations. There's the emergent, where they're beginning to write the letter formations. Then there's the developing, where they're writing more phonetically, doing the sound words like my cat runs. Then they're beginning with the copybook phase to imitate the pictures they see before them. Content or spelling isn't important. Finally, students begin to forget about how they're writing and can instead focus on what they're writing about. The brain is developing during the pre-adolescent years. Young writers begin to think more about the content and not how they're writing it. And one of the general statements made by FDEs is that as students stray from the copybook style they are taught, individual handwriting habits begin to develop. This is a hypothesis. This is what we hope is happening. But there is no published literature to support this yet. So Lisa Hansen's study, which again has been funded by NIJ, thank you, Jerry, is going to be a longitudinal study of 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade students starting this year, and Lisa intends to collect their writing every year. She hopes until they graduate in 2024, but she'll be collecting mounds of handwriting, and she has begun to do that. She'd like to look at how individual characteristics develop in grade school. NAS apparently has requested something along these lines. And again, the hypothesis is, and this is what we hope as handwriting experts, that as the student stops imitating the copybook and starts just thinking about the content, they're developing their own individual characteristics. This is an example of the cursive and the hand printing that Lisa has obtained. On the left is a 4th grader, on the right is a 2nd grader. For the 2nd and 3rd graders, Lisa's using the lines that have the dotted line in the middle, and then I think around 3rd or 4th grade, they're just solid lines. She's looking at over 2,200 students from 2 suburban Minnesota school districts, hoping that the population will remain stable. She has started with 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade students, and she hopes to collect samples every spring for 3 years and then eventually to carry this forward by many more years. She asks the students to produce 2 cursive and 2 printed paragraphs. Interestingly, historically, the samples that she's collecting are from the last 2nd graders who will be taught cursive writing in this district. So again, she's collecting from over 2,200. Every sample will be digitized and will be assessed in iFox software. And we hope to look, I'm sort of helping, we hope to look at some additional data mining with everything that we have collected. That's a lovely picture of the Bureau of Criminal Apprehension in Minnesota, where Lisa works. So she is focusing And this is, you're going to see some of this repeated in my presentation after the break. Some of the same slides, in fact. She is focusing on the word and then the TH combination. I am doing the same thing using iFox. And I am also using the same truthing tool, which is developed by Dr. Srihari as part of iFox. And it simplifies everything greatly. It extracts the words that we want to focus on automatically, and then provides drop-down boxes of the characteristics that we have predetermined that we want to look at. For example, if we're looking at the formation of the staff of the A, we get a selection of whether it's tented, retraced, looped, there's no staff, or there's no fixed pattern. Each selection has a number associated with it. So if we select tented, it'll be the number 1 or 0. I don't remember. 0, 1, 2, 3. And eventually, what we'll have for this sample is a string of numbers. Not quite sure what this is about. So we'll move on. So I have this similar slide in my presentation. This is an example of the iFox truthing tool. This is one writer's sample of ands. I must point out this is a grown-up's writing right here. This isn't any of the kids. And the final string of numbers will, for example, indicate the characteristics that were selected by the document examiner. So number 1 represents that the initial stroke of the A starts to the left of the staff. Number 2, the staff is looped, and so on. When the document examiner is done inputting the data, we have text files, one for cursive, one for handprint, and they look like this. So the first number is the writer identifier. The letter after that indicates which page of writing. We have 3 pages of writing for each writer, followed by the characteristics that were observed. Dr. Srihari will speak in a minute about crunching the numbers for these strings that the document examiners have developed. And he will also explain this part. Finally, thanks to iFox, this is much less laborious than it has been in the past, observing and collecting the information. Algorithms are being used to create statistical models, and we will use those models, we hope, one day to infer the probability of those characteristics. Lisa wants to, as I said, continue this project until the kids have graduated. And once we have all this data collected, we can continue to mine it for other information. References? And any questions I probably can't answer? Go ahead. Yes, Peter. Oh, Peter needs a microphone. Hi, Lisa.
Remember, Peter, we're on a time schedule here.
Since this is a long-term project, are you going to go through the step that Tom Vastrick had outlined of making sure that multiple people classifying this will classify it the same way? Because I know that when the Toronto people had a check class system, they were trained very rigorously by Ulf von Bremen to be consistent, and I know of big databases that have crashed when the person left and nobody could get anything to work anymore.
I don't know. Maybe Dr. Srihari can address that. Sorry, Peter. Maybe Lisa can at some point.
I was wondering if are they tracking the students just by grade or also by age? Because there's a, especially in 2, 3, and 4.
She's going to follow the same group of students that she's starting with every year. So
Yes.
she's starting at 2nd, 3rd, 4th. Next year it'll
Do
be
you think
3rd,
there
4th,
might be a
5th.
linkage on ability or when they go off the worksheet? It might be dependent on also their age within that grade.
We'd like to see if there is an age where they start to diverge from copybook and really develop unique characteristics. So, okay, I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Srihari.
Thanks again, Kirsten, for batting, pinch hitting. Yes. It's nice to have a room full of people that can pinch hit for each other, which is Really good. All right, Dr. Shari.
Okay, my task here was to take the data that Lisa and Kirsten are collecting and to see what to make of this data. And so this is that part of the presentation. So let me begin with the characteristics of the word and then I'll talk about the similarity to the standard Zehner-Blauser handwriting style. So these were 12 characteristics of the word and when it is hand printed. On the left column are the 12 characteristics. For example, the number of strokes in A is one characteristic, and is it 1, 2, 3, or is it an uppercase? And the formation of the A staff, the tented, retrace, loop, no staff, etc. So these characteristics were actually defined by document examiners. And then they use the truthing tool we developed for them to look at those samples of and to say which characteristic it forms. So that is how the data is created. Similarly, here are the 12 characteristics of cursively written and. They're somewhat similar, but some of them are different. So this is the set of characteristics, and the truthing tool provides all these kinds of shapes and all that to give some guidance to the document examiners. The truthing tool, by the way, we call it now as a universal truther, in the sense you can pull down menus for any word that you want, th or and things like that. So you can create data sets using that tool, and we have left the job of creating the data sets to document examiners to say this is what we think of it, and then here we have it, and then we take it from there. So then we also created the ground zero or the zero base in terms of what is it supposed to be like. And apparently the children are taught this copybook style called Zehner-Blauser, and that's what the cursive and looks like, and that's what the hand-printed and looks like. We just took a font that's available called Zehner-Blauser. And here are the characteristics for the hand-printed Zehner-Blauser copybook. So these are, I don't know if you can tell from these slides, the Zehner-Blauser values are given in bold. And so those are the values. Number of strokes in A is 1, formation of A staff, retraced, etc. So these are the ground zero values. In the sense that's what it's supposed to be in the copybook. Similarly, we have for cursive in the Zehner-Blauser copybook, what are the values for these 12 variables? Those are again shown in bold. For instance, for initial stroke of A, the value for that particular variable is a staff center, so on. Okay, so that's the set of values. So we know how it's supposed to be and how the children write. So now we have the standard writing of Zehner-Blauser, and then we've got the children's writing of that. And so we wanted some kind of a similarity measure. So we are dealing here with 12 what are called as categorical variables. So each of them take on some set of values, 4 values or 6 values or something like that. And they are not on an ordinal scale. There's some categorical variables. So we got to think of how do we compare the actual writing with the standard writing. So here is a very first cut measure. This is a project that is just underway. So we said let's start with something extremely simple, which we might modify. This is a simple Euclidean distance measure. The distance or the dissimilarity between the standard S or the student S and the Zehner-Blauser Z is given by that measure, and those are the values, the characteristics. In this, what this means is higher the distance D means less similarity. So we have some kind of a similarity or a dissimilarity measure or a distance measure. The initial data set we received is an extremely small one. We're only 111 in grade 2, 121 in grade 3, and 71 in grade 4 writing printed. And then we have cursive 0 for grade 2. Apparently they don't teach cursive in grade 2. That's probably why we don't have any cursive for grade 2. And I think Kirsten just mentioned they're discontinuing cursive completely. So we will be dealing largely only with printed, it seems to me. But anyway, this is the data we got. Extremely small set, and see what can you do with this before we get the 2,200 students and all that. So we just had an extremely small number. So we said this is a very first cut thing, not not really indicative of what kind of results we're going to have. So we simply did here a histogram of grade 2 printed. What we're doing here is take all the grade 2 children's writing, how similar are they to the standard Zener-Blauser, and then this is the kind of a distribution we got grade 2 printed with a certain mean and a standard deviation. Here is what it looks like for grade 3. Interestingly, there are a couple of values that seem to be extreme here. And here is grade 4 printed. So we have these kinds of histograms that we have. Again, grade 3 cursive, grade 4 cursive, and so this particular chart summarizes it. On the left, we have the printed means, and on the right, we have the cursive means. So what it's saying is that distance is 2, 3, 4, for example. It's saying almost between grade 2 and grade 3, the average distance of the particular grade to the standard Zener-Blauser is roughly about the same. But when we go from grade 3 to grade 4, the distance seems to have come down somewhat, in the sense saying maybe the children are writing better when they're going into grade 4. It's just a very early indicator. So what does it mean for individuality? Maybe we want to be looking at saying as they increase, they become more individualistic, they become different. Perhaps that's what's going to happen. And this data, again, is extremely small and not fully indicative. When we have all the children's data, these histograms may look quite different. So we're doing this as a preliminary study at this point, and is that the best way to measure is one of the questions. Euclidean distance seems like a too simplistic a way of measuring similarity. There are two for categorical variables. We're thinking of the Kullback-Leibler divergence of the distribution, for example, is another way of doing it. And there are several other nicer distance measures for categorical variables. We're going to try out those too. So this was just done during the last 2 weeks. We said, let's just try something for this presentation. And so anyway, conclusion here is that from grade 2 to grade 4, the average distance to Zener-Blauser seems to reduce. And anyway, so this is just extremely preliminary. So any kind of feedback, criticism, saying you should be doing this or that, we'd welcome it, because we're in the middle of doing this. Okay, so I'll stop here.
We have questions? Question? Oh, yeah. Reflex. Yeah. All right. Sasha, bring your mic. Yeah, just leave it when. I would never get through the agenda.
I'm wondering if you've looked at the traditional pedagogical literature going back a century or so, where you've got the grade-specific grading scales used by the teachers, where they say, at grade 2, this is an A, a B, a C, a D, an F for a child at that level trying to get to this particular model. And they do get better as they go along, the teachers hope. So at some point they have, I don't know how many thousands of teacher years of experience condensed into these things, which might be interesting to put those into the distance measure and try and use that experience and that literature to create an ideal curve for an age-specific group or a grade-specific group, and then see where the individual children fall on that, how much teaching and practice is going on in the 21st century as opposed to the 20th century, and then see where the children start to deviate from last century's expectations of form alignment with the copybook. And a lot of that is scanned online. A lot of that's in the QDAD database.
Okay, that's very interesting. That there have been these kinds of studies done. Sounds like it was done quite some time ago. Late 20th century. Okay, right. So we really should be looking at how they went about it. For example, did they also use categorical variables to characterize the shapes of the word? Did they look at and, for example, or it might be some other word? TH is the most common letter combination in the English language. So we're going to do TH. AN and ND are the second and third most common letter combinations. So we're doing that. If they had done a similar one, we could use some of their ideas. And also the choice of the measure if they had a particular way of measuring the similarity, we could use that. And the other thought that occurs to me is handwriting is a variable thing in terms of the teaching and all that. Maybe it was more rigorous some time ago, and now there might be much more variability. That would also be useful if we can quantify that today this is what the similarity is, and it used to be this much in the past as well.
They have specific examples, those words are there, and
Right.
various grading units.
Right.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for sharing.